So the Tanya of today is like this. So the Tanya teaches us that every Jew has two souls. You have a soul is an interesting thing. What is a soul in the end of the day? A soul is alive, right? A soul is also has a pleasure pain system. It has something that it desires. Now, when you desire something, when you get it, it gives you pleasure. And also part of the reason you desire it is because it gives you pleasure. It means that you have a connection to something. So the soul comes from a place, a universe, there are four spiritual universes above it, where it knows that all of reality is God. So why does a child love the father or the mother so much? Because it knows it comes from them. I am that. And so therefore the soul has this love, incredible love for God. In fact, every single night the soul goes into heaven and cries to God, get me out of here. It's like, I can't handle this world, because I want to be back in the world where I'm with you all the time. I actually once had a dream and I heard that cry, and it's an extraordinary cry. It's an amazing, it's like you can't imagine the type of cry that cry is, like from the depth of the soul. So that's the godly soul. Now, the main person in a way is what we would call the animal soul. Now, what is the animal soul? We share with animals something in common, which is we want to live, right? We love ourselves. We want to live. And there are also certain things that give us pleasure. You know, obviously food and sleep. Yeah. And so
9:30 or 9? Or?
we start when there's a minyan. So the story is that the soul has, now there are four elements to the earth, to the world, earth, air, fire, water, right?
Yeah.
Each element represents a certain type of pleasure that is in the animal soul. The godly soul has, like we said, the pleasure of God, but the animal soul has more debased pleasures. So fire is the tendency to anger and arrogance. Now, why does a person get angry? Because they have an ego. And if a person is very humble and I say to you, do me a favor, get me a cup of water, and you don't listen to me, okay, whatever. But if I'm an arrogant person, then how can you not listen to me, right? That's why arrogant people, they get into a lot of conflict because people don't listen to them. They're angry all the time. So that's arrogance. Then you have water. Water is the source of pleasure. So we all like, I don't know, a sweet food or a spicy food or, God forbid, drugs. Gives a person pleasure. We're addicts, basically. Then we have air. We also like comedy. We like wasting time. We like boasting a little bit, promoting ourselves. So this is like the whole entertainment industry. It's just a bunch of air. It's meaningless stuff, but there's a certain pleasure. And then there's earth. Earth is laziness. People are lazy, and some people less than others. And then there's also sadness. Sadness, ironically, is connected to your ego. How is sadness connected to your ego? Do you know? Because you're sad because you didn't get your way. Oh. If you didn't have an ego, you wouldn't be sad. Yeah. So sadness is connected to ego as well, right? So these are all elements of the ego self. So we have the God self, which is just like pure, it's just godly. Then we have the ego self, which has these different desires within us. And because the ego self comes from a place called Klippas Noiga, it also has certain good qualities. By nature, the Jewish people, we are compassionate and we are kind. And that's a nature in the Jewish people. In fact, Einstein said the Germans couldn't be against the Jews as a race because Jews came from all races. Yeah. What were they against? They were against the social justice, which is in every single Jew, which Hitler, ironically, was like from the only anti-Semites that understood himself. It was like very clear, the Jews are the conscience of the world, we're getting rid of the conscience. Yeah. The other people didn't understand. They were like, yeah, whatever, Aryan race are idiots. Hitler said, lucky for leaders that people don't think. Right? And that's the problem with people. And, they asked the Rebbe if a Holocaust could happen in America, even though the Rebbe said no more evil is going to happen to the Jewish people like that. But he said tomorrow, we're seeing it now with the left. People have just been brainwashed from Russian disinformation, somewhat, yeah. So there's this tremendous groupthink that can occur, right? All this anti-Semitism that's going on. I mean, it's mainly I mean, obviously, any extreme has this stuff, but we're seeing it mainly in the left. But where's it coming from? Is because they bought into this false narrative, and it's just false. But they want to be part of the group, so they don't want to give up that group allegiance. And to be part of the group, you have to accept the group think, and that's really what's happening. That's how millions of people get manipulated. But that's not the main point of the conversation. The main point of the conversation is to say that this soul, the innate animal soul, that's why you see somebody, you feel a sense of compassion. Now, there are other souls within the Gentile world that literally are completely selfish. You know, when you look at a lot of the Arab population, it's just very, very much, I'm sure there are good Arabs as well, but it's very much just like, it's just about me, like this one sheik, you know, I mean, these guys do crazy things. One guy, paved his yacht with $10 billion worth of gold. Really? Like, you got nothing better to do with your life? So it shows this tremendous selfishness. It's just about me, 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 me. So that me, that's the essence of evil. And the essence of goodness is actually God, because God will always tell you the right thing to do, and compassion is part of our animal soul makeup. And so effectively, as the Tanya will discuss, we're always in this battle between the godly soul and the animal soul. And then we'll also discuss that we have a third soul, which is called an intelligence, an intellectual. The only mammal that has a prefrontal lobe is the human being. An animal can be much smarter. Bees do math better than supercomputers, and they can communicate that as well. But the bee itself basically can't be anything but its instincts. It's only a bee. Can never say, I think I should change and stop being a bee. I'm going to have a new identity, right? Doesn't say that, right? Only humans can say, I'm going to just change my identity. But the point is, humans have this prefrontal lobe we can observe outside of ourselves. And that's the bridge between the godly soul and the animal soul. Because you need to have this bridge to say, and that's where life leads us to, because eventually you say, okay, so what's the purpose of this? Just get up and eat again? And then you start to seek the truth. And the truth comes to those who seek it. And then this world, the mystical world, opens up and you enter into relationship with God. And last but not least, the Tanya, this was yesterday, I'll just say it quickly, there are 5 types of people, which is the godly soul is totally in charge. Most people, the animal soul is in charge to some extent or another. Then there's a level where you're in between. So you have maybe sexual desires, this and that, but you always control. Or let's say somebody makes you angry, like we said, the animal soul gets angry, but you don't take revenge. You say, no, that's not the right thing to do, right? So that's a healthy human being, that the mind and the soul are controlling the animal. And we're always going to have these voices in us. But the highest level is the messianic level, which we're already begun, which is that you basically merge with God. And in the merger of God is infinite. You're just always growing. So all of life, and that's really what all of life is growth, okay?
Yeah.